Let's go. On today's episode of Elks 101, Rugamba has been released from the team. We're going to look ahead to Winnipeg this week. Tough road game coming up on Thursday. And our hot seats of the week for the Elks. Declan, Krueger, Eddie Steele, Patrick Puff here alongside you. Eddie, man, how's the weekend been so far?
It's been a good weekend, man.
And get up to anything crazy?
Nah, bike rides with the kids. Keeping it low-key, park sessions, man.
The best. I remember one time, I don't know if you do. I don't know. This was probably like a little after your time, but like those chain spam emails we used to get. It was like, if you don't forward this to 10 people, you're gonna whatever. I got one. It was like,
I do remember that. What do you mean after my time, man? All
right, my fault. But I remember I got one, and it was like super specific. I can't believe I'm getting into this right now just because you brought up bike riding. But it was like, if you don't forward this to your 10 closest friends, you'll get in a bike crash. And I remember I went bike riding like that day. My mom wanted to go for a bike ride with me and my sister. And I'm sitting there thinking like, Mom, like, we can't do this. This is a bad omen for sure. And so I told her, I was like, Mom, like, I think we're gonna get into like a bike crash. And she like exploded on me. Obviously, she was like, "It's an email. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
how nonsense out of here?"
Yeah. And it's just, I remember like being scared and thinking like, I don't know about this one, boy.
Did you do it? Did you follow through?
We did go for the bike ride.
No, but did you do the emails?
Oh, of course. I always forwarded those emails.
Coward.
Man, I always forwarded those emails. It was like, did you get an email? It's like, you don't forward this to 10 people. You have bad luck for 10. I'm like, oh, I don't want bad luck. Like, I was sending them to my grandma and shit, man. Like,
that's funny. Like
anyone who could. I only had 9 contacts. I'm emailing like the mayor's office just to get a 10th in there. You know what I mean? But yeah, I went to a wedding last night, and day after,
was it?
It was great. Great celebration of love to 2 close friends of mine. But any day after a wedding, it's always, you're always gonna feel it.
Would you get chicken or beef?
Brisket, actually. They had brisket or chicken.
It was the beef.
And I went back for, dude, here's another thing. Every time they had like, okay, now the bar's open. Like, now the hors d'oeuvres are ready. Like, now dinner's ready. I was like the first in line.
Now, when you're saying the bar is open, was it open bar?
It was Toonie Bar. It was a Toonie Bar. They got to make it back somehow. Because honestly, here's the thing. Like, you can't. There's no way you make. You like on a Toonie Bar, you must make what, like a tenth back of how much you spent.
They're in your age demographic.
Yeah,
so you're about a decade behind me. So you youngins, you got to get your finances right. But
I know,
you got to go open bar.
That's what I was. I think
you got to treat the people.
I think at mine I would do open bar.
I did, but funny enough, so I did open bar, and hey, weddings, full disclosure, they're not cheap now. Get your pennies in order. But the open bar is funny. So you got a kind of a tab that they're running, and then you have a general bill that we had, and we came like $5 within our overall budgeted bill. And I said, that's such BS. Like, you marked this with $5. Come on, with the amount of doubles that we're getting slung. Yeah, right.
I think that's another thing. Cause I remember like the first drink I ordered was a double, and it was like 1 ticket, and then getting singles later was also 1 ticket. So I'm like, clearly something's not adding up here. Yeah. But I think, at mine, I would like to do open bar, treat the people, but it would just be like, you get Coors Light or you get like a White Claw. No hard liquor, no wine.
Yeah.
We're keeping it real bare bones. But yeah, it was fun, man. It's always fun. And like friends, like I'm not, old by any stretch of the imagination. But like they say, friends are kind of moving away. Like I got a couple of friends who live up in Northwest Territories now. Mm-hmm. Like I got one guy, he's in Fort Mac, basically. Like he does 2 weeks on, 2 weeks, or 2 weeks on, 4 days, whatever it is.
Together with people.
Yeah. So it's nice to kind of see. And everyone's just like, it's crazy, man. Cause like all my friends, obviously, like I've known all these guys since we were like this friend group specifically, since we were like 20 years old, and just like dumbass 20-year-old college kids, and now like everyone's getting married, and like everyone's like girlfriends are always there, and it's just like life has changed. Yeah, like growing up for sure, man.
That's how it goes.
That's why I got to throw on like Stand By Me later to relive some of my childhood youth. Pat, man, what'd you get up to this weekend? I know it's still the weekend technically, but
yeah, I had a golf tournament yesterday. I'm a member out in Fort Sask, and we do this thing every year called the Longest Day.
Right there in town?
Yeah. Because, obviously June, I think it was Friday or whatever is the longest day. But we just did yesterday's 27 holes, best ball, 4 guys, and then 2 groups obviously per, but it gets a little bit wild. And it's a long day of golf. And the weather held up for us, which was really nice. The only problem was I did lose my wallet yesterday. So I'm still banking on the fact that someone's going to turn it in. Like maybe I left it in a golf cart and hopefully at some point today, someone's going to find it. But that's on my mind.
Dude, not to Oh, Fort Sask, bro, they're stealing that shit. I'm just kidding. Shut up, Fort Sask. Dude, speaking of, not to get too off topic before we even start, but yeah, speaking of losing my wallet, I lost my wallet at Wem the other day. And I was like, oh, it's gone forever. Like I was searching like every crevice I could find, like just outside the doorway to like the parking lot where the Sports 1440 studios are. Couldn't find it. And I was like, man, maybe someone was a good Samaritan. Went down to guest services and they actually had it.
Wow.
And I couldn't believe, and I had like,
that's impressive.
I had like, I can't remember why, but I had like a fair amount of cash in it too. And it was all there. Wow. I was like, I tweeted, I said like, shout out the Good Samaritan who found my wallet. Like, I want to give you a reward. Cause it was like, and it was just
in your mind, that was as good as gone.
For sure. And it was one of those days too, where it was like, I don't even remember what was happening, but it was one of those days where it was like, it was just the worst day ever. And then now it was like, oh, this on top of it, you know what I mean? So to get my wallet back, like actually flip the mood.
Oh, that's a big win. Speaking of wins.
Elks, man, I'm telling you. Well, I want to start with this one. And for anyone who didn't listen to the last episode, we recapped the Montreal game. I think we were pretty fair in our assessment. Like, I mean, I'm going to think that every time we do it, but Elks
hold on, though. Fair and honest. First and foremost is the truth.
Yeah, honest.
You're not going to catch us on here just BS and sugarcoating. We're going to keep it real. And that's what it is. Try and keep it as factual as possible.
It was like it wasn't. I mean, again, I said this on the last one. Like, if someone just goes and looks at the box score, they're gonna look at, Elks had more passing yards and first downs were even. Elks were a better red zone team in terms of conversions. But I mean, you watch that game and it was Montreal was playing with their food a little bit. Edmonton obviously got a little bit of get back in the fourth quarter there. I thought Trey played really well. We talked about turning that into
he aired it out nicely in the fourth, man.
For sure, he was putting the pass to Stephen Dunbar was. Great pass. I mean, his touchdown
to the right.
His rollout.
That one to Dunbar. That was beautiful.
I thought, like even I said it. His pass to Curley was a little underthrown, but it was still a good ball. Like it's something I see, and I'm like, okay, more of that, please.
And then there was a couple just bad misses late. Yeah. After they got that onside kick, and you thought, oh, there might be something spicy brewing, but then you overthrew a couple of them.
Yep, CFL, no lead to save. Like he had one, I forget, it might have been the third quarter. He had a swing pass. I think it was to Rankin, and he missed him like a yard and a half in a few different directions. So it's still sharing things like that up. But like when he goes and when he's firing, it gives you a lot to be confident
because
about.
You see it's there.
Yes,
right. That's the thing. Sure. Again, even with the flash, and he didn't even have those flash plays in this past game. Where he's running around 1,000,000 yards, which is good because you don't want to see him taking 30, 20-yard losses because he's scrambling around, but. He leaves he leaves you knowing that there's something out there. Like there's meat on that bone for the kid, and he can be something. Just continue to put it together now.
The big story of the week regarding the Elks is Manny Rugamba getting released, and he only played 2 games for the club. Started both games.
Former All-Star.
3 years in BC before this year. They signed him in February, so relatively recently. Former All-Star in 2023, like you mentioned. Didn't have a great first week against his former club, against the Lions. I thought he got burnt badly on Barry Hill's touchdown. Over. Like I think they're too soft in zone coverage. So I haven't liked what I've seen from him. But to release him after this Owls loss, like we both kind of share the same sentiment. I think that we had more issues with the corners. And to Manny's credit, like I didn't notice him too much in the loss this past week. And maybe that's not the best thing in the world either, but I was pretty surprised by the move. I mean, you just got him. Like you signed him in February. Like I said, he was an all-star only a year ago, or 2, not this last season, but the season before that. And it's only been 2 games. Like it's a real short lifespan. But I guess it's just one of those things. Like Ryan Dinwiddie kind of said it after Toronto's loss when he said he's like someone's not going to be coming back here. We got to learn how to not lose games. Yeah, exactly.
Message sent, man.
And like I'm not going to say
quickly and early.
Yeah, 100%. I'm not going to say Manny's the scapegoat because they wouldn't cut him if it wasn't justified. But it's one of those things. It's the business of sport. You got to do your job, and I don't know. Like I am surprised to see him go.
Yeah, and it's it's a business of sport, but more. It's the business of football because, other sports, you're well versed in basketball and hockey, you know how they operate, and they don't it's not a turnstile for players, like the way football is where you're getting cut and they're looking to replace you the minute that they sign you to a contract.
Oh yeah.
Like I remember there would be games, honestly, man, you have a bad game, especially, as an American defensive lineman where it's like a rotating door, you don't step right in the game like 5 times the way the coach wants you to step. You have false steps. Man, you come into practice that next week, there's 3 dudes trying out for that position.
For sure. Oh, of course.
So it is cutthroat, and you got to send that message. You really do have to send that message early. I hate it because coming from the player's point of view, like it's such high pressure. You're walking on eggshells all the time, trying to be perfect. And to a degree, that stretches you mentally. It's hard. But with this club where they're at, and now they're 0-2 staring at a good Winnipeg club, you got to send a message to the locker room that, fellas, this ain't cutting it. We got to step up.
Because I remember one thing Suit said on the broadcast one time that I think some people, like, you are obviously going to know this and totally resonate with this, and some people probably will, but some people probably don't. Like, he says at this level, or he said at this level, it's not always like if you get beat physically, like sometimes the guy's just better than you, sometimes the guy's just bigger than you, faster than you, whatever it is. But it's when you make the mental mistakes, like it's when you're not there mentally. It shows the coaching staff, it shows management that you can't play at this level.
So the question.
And I just think that's such a big thing, because I think sometimes guys will see, maybe watch game film or watch a game back or watch the game and not see a guy get, beat horrendously, or maybe they'll see a guy get beat horrendously, or they'll see a guy who just physically can't match up with who he's supposed to match up with. But it's like I said, and like you just said, the coaching and the management, it's the mental game and these little things that add up and show that, you can or can't play at this level.
And it's a strive for perfection. And you see, especially in pro ball, when everybody's getting paid, like the margin for error is so thin, man.
Yes.
So thin. And the difference between Winnipeg and Edmonton, and Winnipeg's been the class of the West, class of the league, you could say, for the past 6 years. The difference between them and Edmonton is not a huge talent disparity.
No.
But Winnipeg is good at the little things. That's, you're not hurting yourself, not beating yourself, executing when you're supposed to execute, and not at the end of the day, like I say, killing yourself. And we've seen Edmonton self-implode too much over these past few years.
Yeah, 100%. Another thing with Winnipeg is, like, I give Mike O'Shea so much credit. Like, I really think he is one of the best coaches out there. Like, he just always has his guys whipped into shape, it seems. He just always, Winnipeg's had really, really talented rosters over this past run of success they've had running the West. And, like, I think right now, just talking, like, I think Brady could be the best player in the league. So, like, they've had the talent, but Mike always seems to have, like, he is a culture setter. He seems to have the guys whipped into shape. And I think this move, that obviously would have come from Ed, but I think it kind of shows, like, this is the new regime setting the tone, and, like, this is going to be the culture, and these things aren't going to fly anymore. And, like, we don't care what you did yesterday. It's about today.
For real, man. For the thing with Winnipeg that I'll always say, like, when you break down their organization, Mike O'Shea, I've never played for him, but yes, I would want to run through a brick wall for him. Just, I can tell. Yeah, I mean, the guy's a Canadian linebacker, one of the best all time, just as a player. If you know the CFL history in his career, 17-year starter, I believe it was, countless all-stars, like 3 or 4 Grey Cups won as a player. Like, he knows what it's about, man. He, to the core, he knows CFL. So he's a legend for his on-field antics. But then off the field, the culture that he has set in Winnipeg, where there were a franchise that was in the pits. So Mike O'Shea has done a ton. But Dak, I'm always going to go to the grave on this. And if you watch the Winnipeg BC game this past weekend, you'll see what I'm talking about. The offensive line is just different in Winnipeg. That offensive line, you talk about Brady being their best player. Brady's not their best player. Andrew Harris wouldn't be their best player if it wasn't for the offensive line in front. You could go out there and fall forward for 4 yards, Deck, without O-line blocking. They are so good. They are so nasty. And that's what separates them from everybody across the league, is how nasty they are up front on their offensive line. Those guys are the true definition of nasty hogs, man. And if there was so many plays I'd watch in the BC game, if you're standing around the pile, they're going to come in and pile dive you, and they're going to drive for. You're never falling backwards as a player in Winnipeg. There are someone always coming in from your back to drive you forward, and that separates you. And honestly, that wears you down, and it's a mental edge that they have.
It's funny because one thing, like, people always love to throw out hypotheticals about what, like, an average person could do in a sports setting. Like, could you hit off a pitcher? Could you score in an NBA game? Whatever.
Yeah.
But one that often gets you just stand in the corner there. Like, one that gets thrown around is, could a guy get 1 yard in a NFL or CFL game. And like, man, behind that Winnipeg line, like you bet you they could. You bet you they could. Like,
like I said,
put me and Pat back there. We're getting
forward. Patty P's falling forward for 3. Easy.
My 4.5 even, maybe make it second and manageable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they have a lot of talent, but that O-line, the key for Edmonton, and I'm going to always, like I said, go to the grave on this one. Defensive line's got to show up this week in the biggest way. And that's no bias for me because I'm a D tackle.
Yeah, no. For one other piece of news regarding the Elks, they also added Spencer Brown to the practice squad. He played at University of Alabama, Birmingham. Spent 3 years, I think, in the NFL. Was with the Panthers and had a great college career. Like I think his senior season, he had 1,700 yards and 16 touchdowns.
I remember hearing about him at UAB.
He's now here's the thing. Like anytime you made this is such a great testament to the point you just made. Like if you have an off game, there are 3 guys who are coming to take your spot. And like, I don't think Javon or Justin have had off games. In fact, if you listen to the last episode, like Justin was my offensive player of the game in week 2 for the Elks, but it just shows like no position is safe, and anything you can do to get better, you're going to do. And if this guy comes in and immediately can make an impact and can have, like, if he can immediately come in and he works really well in option sets with Trey Ford, like he's going to be in those option sets because that plays to Trey's strength. If he's going to be in and come in and be a bell cow, he is like they're going to lean on him for that because it's going to make Trey's job easier in the passing game. You know what I mean? So yeah, like anyone who's unfamiliar with Spencer Brown, spent some time he was undrafted in 2021, spent some time with the Panthers and a year with the Falcons. I think he'd spent time on the Ticats practice roster as well. Not the youngest guy in the world by any stretch of the imagination, but was a bell cow back in college, has professional experience in the NFL and the CFL, even if it's just practice squads. So it'll be, I don't think there's a need at the running back position, but like you said, I mean, if there's a guy who comes in,
there's so many behind the scene things too that we don't know. Like even just in the gameplay, we may think a guy's out there playing pretty good football, but how's his pass blocking?
Exactly.
What are how's he on special teams? Because if you're an American running back, you're playing on specials up here too.
That's how. Right? Listen, if you want a spot in this league, you got to play specials. Yes.
So how is that too? So. It's not to say that these guys aren't playing good, being leak and rank, but there's other factors. Are they nicked up at all to a degree?
Yep.
So there's so much in with it. I hate to say it, but American running back, I mean, that's a position where that's kind of easy to find everywhere. I mean, who's kidding who? Every football player is easy to find. We're all disposable.
I think I said this in the first episode, but like if my kid wants to play football, first of all, I wouldn't love it, but if my kid wants to play football and coach says you're a running back now, kid, I'm saying no way. No dice, you're a wideout. No you're dice. A DB. You're something else.
How old would you let your kid be when he first starts playing ball?
That's a great question, man. I think 10.
Okay.
Which is young.
That is pretty young.
Because I think
in the States, you see these little 5-year-old bobbleheads, man, just banging out there. So stupid.
Man, along those lines, like I took up boxing after high school. So I was a boxer for like 7 years.
Hands, huh?
Oh, I got hands for sure. I wasn't that quick, but I had a great sense of timing.
Think you could touch me up?
Yeah, for sure. In a boxing match, for sure. In a street fight, bro, I'm running. Like
no, boxing.
In a controlled ring,
nice little spar.
I would jab and move.
You tatted me up, huh? I'm pretty quick too now.
I know. You probably would, man. Like, listen, street fight, I ain't getting near you. But I jab to the body, feint up top.
You know what you're doing. That's
my go-to move, if you want to call it. Because everyone, not to give too much of a boxing lesson, but essentially, like, if you're in a high guard. And I think this is on video. So if you're in a high guard and someone goes to the body, you're supposed to bend. You're not supposed to move your arms, obviously, because it leaves your head vulnerable. You're supposed to bend into it. You're supposed to bend your legs into it.
Get that core.
But at like an amateur level, so many people it's natural to just drop their hands. They don't bend the body the way they're supposed to. So they drop their hands. So you jab to the body and then overhand right up top. And it had like a
1-2.
I must have had like a 98% success rate with it because everyone would just drop their hands.
Straight up a 1-2.
But the point I was going to make is like, you talked about some of these kids who play football at so young, like some of these kids who start boxing at like 5 or 6 years old, like I couldn't imagine.
Get knuckled. I
couldn't imagine. I would never let my child box.
No way, man.
Like
my
football,
parents, I had to beg them. I was 13. Yeah. I'm glad they made me wait.
It worked out.
I'm glad. Yeah,
it worked out.
It did, right?
Talk about a good decision.
For real, you don't have to start at 5 to become a pro. Yeah, that's another thing. Like, play as much sports as you can, man. I'll call out hockey all day. Hockey. You don't need to be playing 24/7, 365, man. Do other things. It makes you better athlete.
Oh, for sure.
Different skill sets, playing different sport, different coordination, different relationships with different groups. And, different sports have different people, man. 100%. I'm a big believer. Do as much as you can.
The ideal situation, I think, for my kid would be basketball, left-handed pitcher, tennis. Ooh. Minimize the damage. But, I'm sorry, you see some of those, like those NBA and MLB contracts.
For sure. Yeah. NBA is nutty, bro.
Oh,
the contracts in the NBA, and you only got, 14 guys on a roster? How many guys on a roster?
Yeah, 15.
Yeah.
15.
Whew, splitting a lot of pie.
Well, they say like SGA, the contract he's eligible to sign at the end of next offseason is $76 million a year.
So there's essentially $1 million a game. And I'm sure you've done the math. I've done the math. Some of these guys are getting like $3K per second. They're on the court. Oh, guys who are averaging like 32 minutes a game. Dude, like you break it down, like they're getting $3K per second.
You got guys on the edge of the bench who are making like $12 million a year.
It's nuts.
But it's crazy because like we think of them as like, who's that bum over there carrying water bottles? Because it's just like how fans think. You know what I mean? Like they don't see them play. They don't. And then if you see that guy at like an open gym or go watch his college or high school tapes, it's crazy.
Speaking of, who you got tonight?
That's man. I've been rolling with. So I was gonna say I've been rolling with OKC the whole way. I haven't actually, because I actually had the Lakers coming out of the West at the beginning of the playoffs. And then when they went out in the first round, I had the Celtics repeating. Then when they went out in the second round, I was finally like, okay, I guess it's OKC's year. I actually thought who won the series between OKC and Denver was going to win the title. So I'll roll with it. But Indiana is so much, not to stray too far away from the Elks, we'll get back to it, but Indiana is just so much. I've never watched a team that has such resilience and such resolve, but also just feels like the team of destiny. Like they don't have a player who's averaging 20 points in this finals. But then you see a guy like TJ McConnell come into the game and you're like, how is this dude just like the most valuable player on the, like 33-year-old
high jumper, huh?
Dude, I saw a tweet that was like, TJ McConnell has dispelled the myth that players from the 50s couldn't play in today's game. He just plays. If you watch it, he plays like, I watch him. I'm like, dude, that's like me and my friends playing open court. It's just the way he plays and the way he shoots. Like his release point is horrible. I hate watching it as like a basketball player.
It shocks me every time I see it.
I do. But he makes it work. He's so effective. And I think Pascal's going to be a Hall of Famer. He should be a Hall of Famer. I think Tyrese.
That's bold.
A lot of people don't agree.
That's bold.
A lot of people don't agree
because he's got the one chip.
The one chip.
The ring is the
3 All-Stars. Here's my. I was actually thinking about this. I can't think of a player if they win this who's been the second best player on 2 different franchises. It's a tough list to think of.
If Indy wins it, he could be a Hall of Famer. But right now, Pascal's not.
You don't think so? Yeah, I think most people would agree with you.
Yeah,
I think most people would agree with you. I just think he clearly, like, he's had such an impact wherever he's gone.
Yeah.
And you're honest, like I said, but if you look at the resume, you're probably right. It's only 3 All-Stars, I think. 2.
There's more work to be done.
I think most people would agree with you. I think you're probably right. But who do you have? I didn't even ask. I just
you know what, man? Because it's at home, I think OKC has the chance to, get that mo.
Yeah.
If Indy comes out and plays that feisty ball that, they can't get down by 20 and try and play comeback, kid. That ain't going to happen because the mo will be too thick in there. But if Indy keeps it somewhat close, it'll be tight. I think Indy could do it, man.
Yeah.
I think Indy could do it. I really do. They're feisty.
They are. They're so feisty.
Okay. All right. Heart wants Indy. Mine says OKC. How's that? How's that for on the fence?
Yeah, I do that one all the time too. I pick, but I'm rooting for it.
Yeah.
Here's if Indy wins, you got to throw out everything you know about ball and start from scratch.
Seriously,
it's okay,
it's cool, small market.
For sure.
I love that. Right,
built their team the right way. Like I know Tyrese wasn't drafted. I know Pascal wasn't drafted.
Like the Indy way team.
Yes.
No, and I just mean Indy, the state in general, ball, down through college, through high school. It's team. Like they got hoopers that come out of there, but it's always team-oriented ball. It's not like you got 1 or 2 just all-stars who are ball hogs. And what they've done is exactly like that to the pro ranks. It's pretty cool, man.
Like that 2000s finals team, no one averaged more than 20 points a game that season. Like Jalen averaged 18.6, I think.
Yeah,
I think Reggie averaged like 18
his
as
trays,
well.
Right?
Yeah. No, Reggie, legend. All right.
Tinsley.
Yeah, great handles. I forget who. I think T-Mac was on a podcast recently. And someone said did anyone have handles like Kyrie? And he said Tinsley. Yeah, so that's cool.
All right, let's wrap it back. Now. Let's bring it back to the real deal.
I think, so I think like as far as news of the week, those were kind of the big ones, like Spencer Brown coming in, Manny getting cut, as obviously, like they just got him and didn't give him much of a lifeline, but like you mentioned, this is how it goes. And
this is, I hate to say it, like it's early, it's an 18-game season. You can't use the word panic. You can't, but damn, this is do or die time.
Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about this. Any thoughts you wanted to add, Pat, on Manny getting out of there, Spencer Brown coming in, maybe a NBA finals prediction?
No, I'm not really a big basketball guy, honestly. I'm always rooting for the underdog. So I did learn a lot in that segment there. So I think I'm going for the Pacers now, just off of what we talked about. But no, I think like you said.
Look at the influence you have. Eddie. Yeah.
I think it is good that they're making I'll admit right from the start, I'm not the best at knowing all the players and everything in the CFL and whatnot. So I think that's where this, my interest will kind of help for the people that aren't fully invested in it and trying to learn. I think it is good that they're, moving people in and out and making changes right away, because I think as a fan base, if they're just sitting back on their hands constantly and just trying the same thing over and over again, it's nice to see them kind of switching it up and seeing if they can find someone that comes in and is a better fit. So, I mean, I think it's good from what you guys have said, being like an all-star, sometimes you just lose it. Sometimes you're not a good fit here. So I think it's a little unfortunate, but I think change is good.
When we look ahead to Winnipeg this week, like this is my thing, because I don't, you never want to call games scheduled losses, especially in an 18-game season. But like Montreal and Winnipeg, I hate to say it, but you can understand as a fan. You can rationalize, because those are two really, really good teams. I think a lot of people think that's the best team in the East, and a lot of people think the Bombers are the best team in the West. But now, like you're sitting here.
I'll call bullshit on that, though.
You don't think so?
Man, I've been thinking about
this. You think it's the Riders?
No, I've been thinking about this a lot, this whole scheduled loss. And like, if you have any sense of pride, you've been hearing this in the locker room. Okay. Oh, you're playing Winnipeg. You're already 0-3. Everybody's already scheduled you to be 0-3. This is an opportunity for this team to show us what they're about, man, for real. Because everybody's already calling it an L. Yeah. So if there's any pride, we're going to see a good, tight game. Yeah. If we see them just flop, that's going to tell us a lot this week, Def.
So, yeah, I mean, 100%. Because I think my thing was kind of like, listen, I thought Winnipeg and Saskatchewan were going to be the two top teams in the West. And then I thought BC and Edmonton were going to be in the mix for that third spot. And I thought Calgary was going to be way down at the bottom. Now, it's only been 3 weeks. Calgary's 2-1 already. BC's 1-2. They've played Winnipeg twice. But like I think BC will kind of correct themselves. I think BC will return. I don't think they're going to be great. I think they'll be an average ball club. But I think they'll correct themselves a little bit. 2 losses to Winnipeg. But if you're 0-3 now, and you're staring at Calgary, that's a 2-1 team this early, like you're playing catch up already, and you're already fighting, from the back in a position you probably shouldn't be in. So to your point about, the pride these guys have, and just knowing that as well, I think is going to play into it. Like knowing that this isn't how the standings are supposed to look. Like Calgary's not that good. Because here's the other thing. No one in that locker room probably right now thinks they're an 0-2 team. No one thinks they'd be an 0-3 team. And yeah, Winnipeg,
they're 1 win away from being right back in the mix.
For sure.
And it
starts this week.
Can't panic, and hit that button yet. But that 1 win, you're in the mix. That 1 loss, damn, now you're staring up a big hill.
Yeah, big hill already.
So you're teetering. You know what I'm saying? That's why this is so crucial. This is such a big game this week, man.
Yeah, and like Winnipeg, obviously, Caleros is back now. Peterson's still running the ball. Brady, he's only carried it twice this season.
Yeah, he's been banged up.
Yeah, he's been banged up. So there's a window. Like Caleros didn't look great. I didn't think in last week against BC.
There is a window that you got to step up and stop that O-line, slow that. Yep. And their defense is good. Their defense is going to test this Edmonton offense this week.
Well, let's jump into this one. I mean, when you're looking at keys to the game, like you've talked about it a little bit already, you're talking about, penetration from the defensive line, like not letting their O-line get into a rhythm. I mean, what else springs to mind for you? Like when you look at this game, when you look at this matchup, who Winnipeg has on paper, what you've seen from Winnipeg so far this year, like what are you saying? Okay, go do that.
Well, bro, like we always know, it's cliche. Football's won and lost in the trenches, right? And of course. You've heard me just harp on how good Winnipeg's O-line is, but there's no secret sauce to it. Yeah. Edmonton's D-line has not been up to par the way we thought they would be thus far through 2 games. Just keep it real. So they got to show up and have a better game. But also Edmonton's offensive line now needs to have a big game because Willie Jefferson and those boys can really come with the pass rush.
Oh man.
And that momentum gets going quick in that stadium. So it's going to be a tough outing there. So Winnipeg has a solid defense.
Oh yeah.
You know, front 7 in the secondary, they are solid all around. So Edmonton's got their work cut out for them on offense. And Trey Ford, this is such a big week.
Yeah.
Like for everybody, you know, in that locker room, this is a big week.
I mean, so like if I know you tweeted about this during the Montreal game, like if Trey goes out and at halftime, he's 6 for 15 for 51 yards.
Kind of puts up the first half that he has the first 2 games.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like just that's what it's been.
Yeah. Are you like in your mind? Are you at all looking to Cody?
Well, if you're not competitive in the game, you got to start to consider it. Yeah. Like, yes,
it seems so early.
I know, but it is early, Deck. It is, but you only have so much time.
Yeah, that's right. Because it gets
this is a week to week.
It's early, and then all of a sudden it's middle of the season quick, and all of a sudden it's late season quick. Like it's only 18 weeks.
It can run away from you quick. This is a week to week thing. So if the ball game's not competitive, then you got to consider it. You
make such a great point about the defensive line. Like this is essentially the Argos defensive line from last year that won the Grey Cup. Serezna, Brinkman, and Smith, right? Like they were all great. And we haven't seen it. Like they don't get any penetration. They don't really get to the quarterback.
It seems like they've been taking the brunt of the punishment instead of being the givers.
Yes. And it's first of all, I think it's really uncharacteristic for the group of guys. And I think like these guys know, like these guys are all really good players, all really proud, and like they know as well. Like they were brought into like there's a reason the entire
tone setters in the D line. That's not a position where it's like it's scheming. It takes time to gel. Nah, the D line is you put your hand in the dirt and you go and set the tone. And we just quite frankly haven't seen the tone set. You know, especially from a cat like Jake, who it's tough. I know he's seen double teams. I understand, but we want to see Jake go and be that forefrontal leader and see that 9-4 out there setting the tone. He is 9-4, right? I believe
Jake. Yeah, he's 94. He's 94. He's not. He. Another thing is like I really still think, and this isn't on the defensive line. I think this is when it gets to the second level, but I think the tackling is still like you just got to shore that up. Like you gotta make that because I think like that linebacking core with Cordell, Nick, and now like I think that's incredibly talented linebacking core. And I know they're flying away. Like Nick's always flying around. He always makes plays.
If they want to shore up their tackling, they just need to watch him, man.
Yeah, 100%.
Coaching tape.
I'm saying,
like, watch that guy fly.
100%. Nick's he's in everything. He's always flying around.
He finishes.
Finishes is like I mean. But that's just one of those things. Like that's one of those little things. Like if the defensive line can't get going and they can't get that penetration we talked about, and they can't be the tone setters. Like you gotta be the security blanket, be the safety blanket. Like get in there and make those tackles, do those little things. Like the little things add up to big results. And the coverage again is one. We'll talk about this in the next segment when we get into our hot seats. But like I think it's been far too much zone coverage for those DBs and playing far too soft and like not
wide.
Yeah. The only one who really seems to flow to the ball is Tyrell.
Totally.
He's the only one who's really flying around out there and he's playing like strong side corner.
Yeah. He's playing so like, wide out.
Yeah. Like if it plays to the weak side, he's got 60 yards to cover to get over there. And he's the only,
No, he's not in the play. Yeah, no, you're right on that, man. And we're not calling for them to be out there going press man all the time, but
you're not all going to be Champ Bailey. We get that, but
come on down a little bit, and disguise it and trust yourself to get to bail in your zone. Just because we've seen it get picked apart, right? It's
Montreal killed them.
Again, when McLeod Bethel Thompson came in, man, in the 3 screens that they ran, 2 wide receiver, 1 to the running back, and they all had successful gains because the coverage was so far off. That one, I'm just screaming at the TV. What's going on here?
After the game last week, I spoke to Coach Killam at the Media Veil, and I asked him. I was like, one of the things I asked about was the zone just kind of getting not to be too harsh, but torched a little bit by Montreal. And he kind of said, yeah, like, listen, we're going to shirt up. We're going to look at it on film. We're going to go, cover it in practice for sure. And then I asked him as well about getting Curly involved. Because Curly was like, he ended up with a great stat line. He was a big part of that fourth quarter, obviously. You kind of forget about it in the loss, but he was on his way to having another uninspiring stat line. So I said, like, are we going to do anything to, you got a lot of talented receivers there. Are you going to do anything to isolate Curly in the receiving game? And he said, no, we play a team game. We play, we got 12 guys on the field.
Yeah, and I respect
which I totally get. And he obviously, here's another thing. Like, you think you know about football, then you talk to a guy like you talk to a head coach, and it's like, damn, I don't know that much out there.
Well, there's going to be an open player. The ball's supposed to, especially on offense, go somewhere specific every play. So if you do try and force it to Curly, probably going to end up turning it over more than they do already. Yeah. So the thing, Trey's got to find that specific and make the read.
And Curly,
that.
Yo, for sure. And Curly hasn't, again, not to be like, he hasn't overly done his part, I would say. It's not like he's beating his man on every single route.
Exactly.
And Trey's just not finding him. Like, he's not noticeable by, some of his own doings. But again, like, we see when he is into the game how valuable he can be. Like, that's why he's getting the price tag he's getting. Like, that's why he's getting the salary he's getting. And so you can't, because I agree. If you do try and do those things, Winnipeg's going to pick it apart. It won't be successful. But it's tough to say it after he had, like, I think it was 7 catches, 85 yards and a touchdown. I don't know what his exact stat line was. So it's tough to look at that and see what he did in the fourth quarter and say, be more involved. But I want him more involved earlier, because Trey, again, like, when he has I'm not saying throw check down routes or anything like that, but when he has a guy he can rely on to, move the ball in the passing game early on.
Defense, yes, by stretching the field.
Yeah.
But not with his legs, because he barely ran too last game, which is good.
Yeah.
Healthy. Stretch the field, and that scares the defense. Right now, the defense isn't threatened by you going deep and beating them over the top. And once you can establish that, you have that in your game, man, that makes you really scary. And that's what we've been both talking about. Go to it earlier in the game. Yep. Get these receivers, get that high tagged receiver Curly involved early, man.
Yep. 100%. Like, I look at, I would love to, like, my dream scenario for week 4, I guess technically, is first play of the game, HB dive, Rankin takes it for 9. Second play of the game, play action, Trey rolls to his right, ideally the strong side, and just Curly over the top. That's how I want to see. That's how I want to see the game start. Yeah, just running the go route.
Yeah,
that's what I want to see. Now, well, obviously, a lot has to happen for that to.
Trey's got to get outside of Willie Jefferson's game to make that happen.
You're right. Maybe we'll have him roll to his left. Willie's a guy. I feel like he's been in the league forever.
Ageless, man.
He came
in in 2014.
Yeah, I think this is Stanley's 15th year or 19th year, something like something
it'd
crazy.
Be like 14, 15.
Okay, 19 would be that's crazy. That'd be crazy.
And he's won like so many most outstanding linemen, and he's one of the best ever.
I was gonna say I think he's probably the best
in my mind,
best tackle ever.
Lineman ever to play in the CFL. Well, I guess there'd be 3. There's got to be 3, but it'd be Stanley and Chris Walby.
Okay,
Winnipeg legend, like just a legend. And then Gene Mikowski.
I was gonna say Gene is a joke because Saskatchewan boy.
He had a real solid career. So I played Gino. It would have been 2011. And that would have been his last year. And you could Gino was like 39-40 at that point in time. Mm-hmm. And he looked
older
times.
too. He always looked older than
strong.
He was.
He was all taped up, man. Yeah. He had a freaking surgical room worth of like tape and equipment on just to get through a game. But he was strong. I got him a couple of times though. Yeah. But man, it's so cool to be able to line up against a legend, Gene Mikowski.
Yeah.
I remember like it was his game in Hamilton playing the Riders. It would have been week 4, I believe. And it's like, wow, I'm lining up against Gene Mikowski. I grew up watching Gene Mikowski. Yeah. It's crazy.
It was gotta be such a.
There was a few guys.
Who was a player?
Anthony Calvillo.
No, I was going to ask about him. Yeah, legend.
Man, I'm pass rushing against Anthony Calvillo. I'm trying to hit him with all my will, and he's so skinny and frail out there. Chuck and duck. What he would do is throw it and he'd duck at the same time because just to avoid the big hits. And if he was going to get hit, just hit his back. But he's just chucking darts, man.
He obviously broke my heart twice. But you got to respect just how, like, I think my kind of unpopular take is I actually think he's the best CFL quarterback ever. Like I think people,
I mean, the numbers don't lie.
Yeah, like Warren Moon,
the legendary 5, especially in this market. Yep. But if we're looking at sheer like what the career was in CFL, Anthony Cavill's numbers are some of the best in pro football, NFL and CFL.
Yeah.
What does he have in the 80,000s for passing yards?
I remember when he hit like 74, whatever it was. And there was a tribute from like everyone in NFL history who had hit 70 except Brett Favre. They couldn't get him to do it, I guess. But yeah, like he must have finished up there. And he's great as an OC right now.
Yeah,
like he is a great coordinator over there in Montreal. Like I give him because obviously when you have a guy like that who just has a mind for the game, I mean, you're always going to find success, but I give Montreal credit too. Like I think they have really talented players, but Anthony makes the most of them. And like I said, like not a lot of coaches, I don't think of a willingness to go back-to-back play calls, but they ran 2 wide receiver screens last week. I think they were both to Austin Mack. It might've been Mack and Snead or something like that.
MBT coming in the game.
Yeah. And it was the exact same play back to back, same formation, same blocking scheme.
Yep. And part of that is we talk about the softness of the defense for the EE, but the other part is that's really good OC play calling on the offense because
for sure.
You're getting your backup in the game. He's throwing a couple of balls, getting in rhythm, feeling it out instead of just getting him cold off the bench, trying to chuck a 15-yard post in traffic. It's really good on them too. Take what they give them, I guess.
No, for sure. I mean, okay, I'm trying to think here. A couple more keys to the game for this week for me. I definitely let me see what I've written down here.
What do you got, Patty P? You got any keys, man?
Well, I kind of wanted to ask, through 2 weeks, I like that they had a little bit of an offensive push in the second game there against the Alouettes. But I mean, 14 points in the first game, 28 in the second game, but they've given up 31 and 38. If, maybe a bit of a basic question, but watching those 2 first weeks, do you think the offense needs to step up a little bit more, or do you think the defense is hurting them? So like what needs to step up to win game against the Bombers?
For me, I think it's the defense. I think I've seen more promise out of the offense. Now, it hasn't been consistent, and consistency is key. You need it to be consistent. You need to have these guys firing on all cylinders. You need to have a commitment to the run game. You need to have your quarterback in situations you're comfortable in. We've said all this. But defense is the little things. Like defense is, be in the right place in coverage. Make your tackles, make the right reads. Like those are the little things that I think need to be shored up. And that's why, for me, I think it's the defense.
Yeah, honestly, it's complimentary totally. And that's the politically correct answer. If I'm going to pinpoint it, yes, I'm going to agree it's the defense. But the offense has to help the defense out early in the games, which this past game they did. They took the ball and they went and they got 3.
Yep.
But then Montreal's offense got the ball and they went and got 7.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's on the defense.
Yep.
Letting up 30 plus points 2 weeks in a row, that's on the defense. That's unacceptable. And I know JC knows that's unacceptable. I played with him. He was a captain on my defense. A great defense. CFL legendarily good defense. So that's a word, huh? Legendarily?
Legendarily. Yeah. That's how we talk about you. Legendarily. One thing, how have you felt about their protection
of Trey?
Yeah.
Could be much better.
Could
be. And they, brought back Steven Soros, who was the coach here last year. The only remaining coach, actually, the only holdover from the Chris Jones regime, because he is a really great coach. He's a heck of a coach, good in the run game. There's a reason they kept him.
Yep.
But pass protection hasn't been great. And, buckle up because, like I said earlier, you got a good Winnipeg defensive line led by Willie J that you're about to play.
Yeah. All right. So, looking at just to finish up on the Bombers game here, is there one thing you're going to point to and say this needs to happen on the offensive side of the ball and on the defensive side of the ball? Because for me, I still think it's so generic. I've said it for 2 weeks now. I don't want to be belaboring this all season. I doubt I will be, but I still think a commitment to the run game is so huge. And I think Justin, when the Elks committed to running the ball against Montreal, I thought they found a lot of success. Like those sustained drives move mountains, right? And like just it's so simple, but it needs to be said again. Like being able to run the football opens up the passing game. It makes things so much easier for your quarterback. It makes things, play calling, like you're not all of a sudden like in a 5 set every time, just having to throw like 2 different go routes on each wide side of the field.
How do you have a successful run game, though.
I mean, okay, so I love, this is another thing, because Trey, I think he was making the right reads in the read options. I like that. I think both guards were playing really well. So I want to stay with that, because I think Trey, like I think if Winnipeg goes back and watches this on film, they're going to see like Trey didn't pull it once on the read option. And I think they're going to start collapsing on these read options. And that's, when you take it now, here's the other thing. Like Willie is as a vet gets playing that defensive end. Like Willie's not going to be, falling into this. He's not going to be biting or anything, but I still like Trey. I've seen Trey make the right reads in the read options. And I think there is, possibility that he's going to be able to pull it and, get to the outside, make a play. I want to see A-gap runs. Like, I just think hammering the ball is so important.
You're missing the ultimate factor, Deck. I tried to throw you the softball.
Oh, my goodness. And I missed it?
Yeah. There is only one way you have a good run game, man. In this week of all weeks, and call me a dumb D lineman, call me a biased D lineman. This week of all weeks, the game is going to be won or lost in the trenches on both sides. It's all about line play.
Yeah.
This week,
just win the line of scrimmage.
The winner of this game comes down to the line play.
He's going to win the line of scrimmage.
Watch the line play. Watch the line play. Just usually you want to see the receivers and the flash and the ball. Just step back now from your normal viewing perspective and just focus on the line play this game, and you'll see what it's about, and you'll see how this game is going to be won or lost. I promise you. Yeah. I promise you. Watch the line play.
Okay, well, let me kind of take the same question and flip it to that. Like, what are you looking at on both sides of Edmonton's line here? Like, what are we doing to
if you
win
can
the line
contain Winnipeg's defensive line?
Okay.
If you're Edmonton's O-line, if you can contain Winnipeg's defensive line, because they're a great defensive line. Yeah. And if you're Edmonton's defensive line, you cannot get pushed back.
They got to get penetration.
You have to penetrate and you have to play on their side of the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
You cannot be getting pushed back into your linebacker's face. You have to establish that tone. And honestly, it's all about letting them hang, man. And who's going to be mano-a-mano? It's a one-on-one me versus you battle. If you're eating a double team, you can't let that double team move you. Jake Serezna, Jared Brinkman, boys, come ready to eat. This game is on your shoulders. I'm telling you, Deck, because if Winnipeg gets in 2nd and 6, 2nd and 4, then it opens up their whole playbook for Zach Collaros. He can hit you play action to the flats. He can hit you play action over your head to Nick Dembski, and that's what they do, and that's how they kill you. And it's a slow death, man. It's a slow, painful death because you're living in 2nd and short.
Carrick Weefall, by the way, another guy who's been great for Winnipeg this year. He's balling out to start the season.
He's been over 100 for 2 games.
Yeah. No, 100. Yeah, he's been great. He's finally, I think, won the 1 touchdown this year. Nick's got 2, I think. Yeah. But he's been playing really, really well.
Even have 3.
You might be right. All right, let's do a prediction. You got a prediction for this one?
I think it's a close game.
I do too.
I think it's a close game, but I think Winnipeg beats him by a late field goal.
Really?
Yeah, I think Winnipeg beats him. I don't have a score, but I think Winnipeg beats him by a late field. I think it's going to be a close game.
I'm going to break the mold for this one a little bit because, to your credit, like I was, kind of came in here and sold it like they're 0-3, talking about Calgary and the standings, things like that. But I actually think Edmonton's going to win. I think they have a really big chip on their shoulder going into this one.
Are we being homers?
I don't know. We got our big J Journo hats on always. We would you set it off the top? Honesty and objectivity over all else.
No smoke either. Like I think it'll be a close game because I do believe Killam will have these boys ready.
100%.
These guys, like this is a test of your pride.
Yep.
And I've been in many football locker rooms and it's very egotistical and prideful fellas in there.
For sure.
So nobody wants to take an L here.
I think it's going to come down to the defense late. And I think it's going to be a late stand to get Winnipeg's offense off the field. Like, I think they're going to be playing 3-down football. I think it's going to come down to, I don't know what the exact play is going to look like, but I think it's going to be like a 3rd and 8. And Zach Collaros he's going to miss an out route or something. And Edmonton's going to take over on downs. And I think they win this one close, but I think they win it late. And I think on the strength of their defense. I could see Edmonton's defense not having the best first drive. And again, I don't know how to quantify this, but I see them really kicking it into gear. And I see them like, I just look at everyone on, and here's another thing. They just had to start to get cut after 2 games. Like no one's safe. Like it's gut check time now. It's go time.
With Ed.
Yeah. For sure.
Mr. Hervey up there, he's a winner too. And he knows what winning teams look like. So they'll shape it up.
100%. I just think, and I look at that defense. I think those guys are too talented to have to be playing the way they've played up to this point in the season. Like, I liked him at every level on the defensive side of the ball. There's not
defense. I mean, that leads us into our next segue. I mean, for what you were talking about off there.
Yeah, a little hot seat of the week. Who's on your hot seat going into this one? Do you want to start things off, or do you want me? Okay.
Again, hot seat. We're not out here calling fellas out, but the defensive line, I already said, as a whole, the defensive line needs to be better, led by Jake Ceresna. He was a huge free agent acquisition in the offseason. We know what he's about, and we're comfortable with saying that we probably would want to see more from him because we've seen him dominate the CFL of the past 4 or 5 seasons. Yep. And it's not about just sacks. I want to see it in the run game. And he knows how good Winnipeg's O-line is. He's played them. This ain't nothing new to him. But I'm expecting a big game. He's had a quieter start to this season. I'm not just looking at the stats and judging him off the stats. I'm looking, in depth and stuff. And he's getting opportunity. He's fighting double teams. But when you have the big ticket and you're the big presence that he is, more importantly, I want to see it. So this is a huge week for Jake Ceresna and the D-line. This isn't just a Jake thing. This is the D-line as well.
I love it. My hot seat of the week is going to be JC Sherritt. And I don't think JC's been at fault necessarily, although I haven't loved some of the coverages. I've told you that. I don't think he's been at fault necessarily. But I do want to see just a different game plan. Because it hasn't, I want to start seeing, you've probably been watching this closer than I have, but I haven't really seen the D-line stunt that much. I want to see them start stunting. I want to see more man coverage. And this isn't a JC thing. This is a thing you have to do as the player. But I'm not always seeing my linebackers take the first step towards the line of scrimmage. So it's just I want to see JC put together, like I said, a game plan with some more stunts. Maybe, like a 34 look, maybe that's tough to say because it's taken, in my mind, someone off that defense, one of those D linemen coming off the field who we just talked about how talented they were, but some 34 looks, man coverage across the board. So JC, I don't think he's necessarily been the problem on the defensive side of the ball through 2 weeks, but he is on my hot seat because I just want to see a different game called.
Yeah, and just the in-game adjustments as well. Want to see that out of him. And JC's my boy, young in the coaching game, but it'll get done. And you can see the adjustments, but he's even been open about how sometimes, especially going back to that first game, he got out-coached to a degree. So, there's going to be some growing pains, but the growing pains got to heal fast in pro football because, man,
he went up against some good coaching staffs the first 2 weeks, especially AC in Montreal. I think
there's only so much excuse.
For sure.
We can say for so long. Once we're in pro ball, man, everybody's on the hot seat, right?
Yep. 100%. Pat, you got one? You got a hot seat of the week?
I think just for me in general, it's just the defense in the sense of just keeping them below 30 points. I think a big one too. I mean, it's pretty a bland statement, but I think, getting the first touchdown of the game is so big. I know in the Alouettes game, they got the first points with the field goal, but I just think getting 7 up there right off the bat is just, it's just a good start to kind of give your team that boost they need for the game. So I think that's kind of it for me is, it's tough to, if you're not keeping them off the board, I think for 30 points is kind of hard to come back from. So if they can keep it below that, I think that's big.
Just keep the offense on the field. I want to see sustained drives, which I thought they did well at points against Montreal, but not that that's a hot seat.
If we could open up that passing game too, man.
Yeah,
it all is complementary. How many times have I said that word? And it's how the offense helps the defense, but then how the offense helps each other. How the run opens the pass, but the pass opens the run. It all works together, man. Yep. It's such a beautiful game. You talk about boxing as the sweet science. I hear you talking about, man, football is such a beautiful game. It is so hard because you have brutal. It's all individual matchups across the board, but it all has to flow together in order to have success on any play. And if one guy doesn't do his job, the whole team fails on that play. It's such a beautiful thing because it is the ultimate team. Although it's the ultimate individual at the same time, it's such a weird complex.
No, perfectly said, man. Anything you want to add before we wrap up?
Nah, man.
No, I think I've got all my thoughts out on what we wanted to talk about. I'm really going to be looking forward to Friday morning and doing the post game show one way or the other because I think there's going to be a lot to talk about. Ideally, on that one, we're going to have some video we can break down. I think we're going to want to do that.
I think everybody who tunes in and sees and hears this we should all be encouraged and we should all strive to be like is Winnipeg's crowd. The game is going to be in Winnipeg on Thursday night, and we have all the excuses with the CFL, and some valid, and some people. I just hear a lot of excuses. Let's get out to games.
I'm telling you, man.
Winnipeg, they're doing it right. It'll be almost a sellout in that barn, and there's going to be a ton of excitement. Now they have a team to be excited about, but we got to get the CFL attendance back to where it needs to be.
And Elks games, man, they're so fun. They're so much fun to watch, whether you're, a hardcore football fan because you're watching great football, whether you're just a dude or a girl who wants to go hang out with their friends. It is such a fun social environment. They do a great job. They make an event out of it. It is so much fun to be at an Elks game. The weather, it's summer. It's beautiful. Mm-hmm. No excuses. It's so much fun.
It is, man. And it's reasonably priced. We look at what NHL tickets cost.
You need Eddie Steele, Pat Puff money for Oilers tickets. You know what I mean?
Not me, psych.
But no, it's great. I want to see it.
And here's the thing, Winnipeg, they got a vibe. It's a good atmosphere there. So I just want people to see how exciting it is there. And man, bring a piece of that to your own home stadium.
100%. Next Sunday against Ottawa. That's going to be the next home game. 5 p.m. Sunday game. Mm-hmm. Church is over. Can push Sunday dinner back a little bit.
Put the women and children to bed. Let's go to the game.
All right, man. Anything else you wanna add?
No.
All right, man. I think I'm good here. Pat, any final thoughts?
Just a little housekeeping. You mentioned the Red Blacks game. We're giving away tickets to that on our Instagram. So if you want to give your predictions for the Blue Bombers game this weekend, this Thursday, just go on our Instagram. And if you ever have any questions for anything that Eddie or Declan kind of mentioned throughout the show, terminology or anything, just message us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, however you want to reach out to us, and we can kind of answer those. Because I think it'd be nice to get some fans involved as well.
100%. 100%. Okay. Awesome. This has been great. This has been Elks 101, episode 2. Are we calling it Elks 102? Are we climbing it that way? Or are we just keeping it Elks 101?
I think we'll keep it Elks 101.
Yeah. Dude, it would get tough. We get to the 17,000th episode. It's Elks 17. Yeah. All right. This has been Elks 101, episode 2. Thank you for joining us. Declan Krueger, Eddie Steele, Patrick Puff, signing off. You can listen to us on Elks Central, the post-game show, coming up next Friday morning.